Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, in the game The Last of Us, Henry, Sam, Ellie, and Joel are traveling. Suddenly, there comes this tank looking thing, like this military truck thing, and there's a human strapped to it, chained, looks like this, starfish style, and on the front it says run. And I found that to be such a scary detail because it's like, wow, they're just mowing down people they don't even know. And if you see something like that, you best run. And it's a different kind of villain. What I find very unique further about such a scary, quick thing, because you're looking through the scope, right? And you can see that and you're like, whoa, it's so off-putting, so jarring. Like, well, they're using a corpse as a form of decoration and intimidation. And this hints back to days when heads were on pikes. That was a real thing. Or some people would be left hanging from a tree, a bridge, a highway overpass, in order to show you, who rules the area and what they're willing to do. So this was unique in the terms of intimidation, and I haven't seen that yet in a game or in a fiction story, or in any movie, because some movies they are quite clever with the way they present the threat, right? To let you know immediately the type of enemy you're encountering and the type of behavior you're gonna witness and what that particular character is capable of. So, by seeing that truck there, you fear immediately for Ellie, and you're like, we gotta get, defeat these people because they're crazy. Who does that? But at the same time, in a world where it's like survive or die, you can see why that kind of behavior would come about. And so, when you have a system where society has dysfunctioned, infected are everywhere, and there's different confederacies and factions and groups essentially warring for all, then you can see the level of ruthlessness that would be required to keep your existence in such a scenario, and then contrasting that with civilized society, right? And it was such a clever detail because it shows you this is where society's at in this game. This is where those brains are at. And people like Ellie's age who grew up only knowing that. See, Joel and Tommy, those age ranges, they knew the world before it turned that way. Whereas the younger generations in the game, they only know that world. And so, if you've only grown up in the world where it's might makes right, domination at all costs, fear is the only way of guarding and shielding yourself, well, you're gonna come across some psychos like that. So, if one of us were in such a scenario and you see something like that, it has this visceral reaction. And that's something that I liked. Because if you're a mom and you're with your children hiding and you see something like that come up, all of a sudden that feminism goes out the window, doesn't it? I mean, you might be able to protect us. And I like that. I like that as a female, as a mom who depends on men behaving, right? Not being a threat to us. I appreciate having a stable society. Now, there are people, anarcho-libertarians, anarcho-capitalists, there's people who glorify dismantling the government and saying we're all going to be kumbaya, right? But they forget that level of the human mind, right? And it's even more interesting when you think about there's no more police, no more firefighters, no more ambulances, paramedics, all that, no dentists, surgeons, it's all gone. and now you must exist. And then that truck shows up. You can see it encapsulates the world of this fictional world and what it's now become, right? Contrast that to like the 1900s or the 1800s aristocracy mannerisms, right? It's so fascinating just seeing how the human brain can adapt and flourish in certain environments and what expressions of ourselves come out. And that tiny detail in the game, it really was a great one, because it made me think about how humans will choose to be when prisons are gone. Because in that game, man, there's no prisons. There's a couple holding cells if one of the factions gets you. But you're going to encounter monsters in a world like that. And then in such a time as that, as a mom, you depend upon the good men. And then you see the patriarchy necessity. And that female cruelty and male cruelty are terrible. But when you combine depravity, ruthlessness, wrath, in a dystopian situation, you're gonna get expressions of the human mind that you didn't even know were possible. And so I found that to be just, I still keep thinking about it, like, what? And I've watched the game, a whole walkthrough several times, right? And each time it gets me, because there's like intimidation factors that we have as humans, because the animals have it too. How can you intimidate your enemy to get them to back down and submit or flee? And that enemy of Henry, Sam, Joel, and Ellie is quite clear. How will you get them to back down? Now remember, there's another group called the Scars. They're quite weird as well. And if you look in The Last of Us 2, how Abby is tied up, like to that post in the ending, like by the tide and left there, you can see what humans will do. Okay? And humans have a unique capacity to try to maintain order with ruthlessness, but also if left up to their own devices, they'll still choose ruthlessness. So no matter which system you put, with extreme government or without extreme government, you're going to get evil. You cannot escape it. You cannot escape humans who desire ruthless domination. And what do? Do you give them the other cheek? Oh, you slap me here, I'll slap you there. Are you pacifist? Okay? No, you literally have to decide to avoid or win. And that's what I liked about that simple take. The mindset of the one who drove it, and the mindset of the one who said, this is what we must do. And those who said, this is cool, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we'll represent our group. Reminds me a lot how even in primal games like Far Cry Primal, you'll see them have the head of some animal. Or in a cult, you'll see they have the human skull. There's ways in which humans signal to you their capacity, they're capable of, right? And it's something that we do a lot as humans when you think about it, how they decide to express themselves and what silent signals they send to you to let you know what they can do, what they're capable of, and you take them at their word. And some of it might be bluffing, but then again, do you want to find out? Right? And humans using other humans' bodies as decoration as a form of intimidation is something long been known. This also reminds me of the flayed man on the House Bolton banner. Right? When Ramsay flays people, turns them upside down and puts them on the battlefield in the Battle of the Bastards, that's a strong, like, this is what we're gonna do to you if you lose. So that tank desecrates the bodies that they get. So not only will they end your life, but they will desecrate your body. And there's something in the human mind that gets deeply disturbed by the desecration of a body, because it's almost like you feel in your head, well, you've won, so stop. You've won. Okay, that's enough. Don't beat a dead horse. But those who still seek to mutilate and mock after they've already won, you see the excessiveness, you see their ruthlessness, their derangement almost, their maliciousness, vicious nature, right? And villains can be written in a number of ways that make you remark, like, wow, right? For example, Scarface, he's chained in a bathtub. He watches the person next to him get the chainsaw. The directors did it in a way where the woman, she's like there, right, smoking a cigarette. She looks kind of scary. She's on the bed watching TV. The other guy is outside and he's looking at the women. And meanwhile, his friend and other buddy are inside. And this guy gets a chainsaw in a bathroom. It's unique in the way in which they caused panic and fear, because it looks like an everyday situation, right? And someone who has the stomach to do that and wants the person to see what's happening, you're like, wow, right? So with good writing, you see something that reveals a certain truth. And in the Last of Us video game, that tank continues that pattern of, this is what we'll do, and you are in our world now, right? And so this is interesting further when you look at people who are really against the Second Amendment. They teach pacifism and are against teaching girls and boys self-defense and honor codes and such, because they think by teaching the youth strength that they'll make them villains, when in reality you're leveling them up to survive in a world that could possibly exist. The brutality that humans can do to each other doesn't go away just because you've taken away access to tools of self-defense. And so when I saw that tank, I thought to myself, we have a very unique situation in gaming here. Because we see that no matter which system you live in, where the government is overbearing or underbearing, you're gonna have to encounter some toughness, and how will you respond when that toughness comes to you? Just because you will have mercy on them does not mean they will have it on you. How do you navigate that? It's quite telling. Quite telling. Let me know what you think if you watched that same scene. If you found it as mind-blowing as me. Some people overlook details like that, but as you know, I could hyper-focus on stuff. But I did find it to be clever and thought-provoking. And good games do that, because they hint at a truth. They hint at a truth. And it's a bit funny, because I don't know, something about it that's a bit funny when it says run, and you're like, because you literally, if you're like, hey man, I just found some can of tomatoes, and then you're like, do you see that? Run! Like, you gotta hide. Because remember, ammo is limited in a situation like that, right? Whoever has the most weapons, you know, they're gonna have a better chance. So you begin to see the reason why Bill set all those booby traps in the other part of the game, because you'll be able to take people out in different ways. So compare how Bill did a stealth trap versus this tank is right in your face. Examine that. This military truck thing. Bill hides and just lets a nail thing go on you. But the military truck is right in your face, letting you know what you're up against. It's two different strategies, isn't it? Something to think about. Something to think about. By the way, if you'd like to join my blog and support the channel, I'm not monetized on any app, and neither are my two channels. So if you'd like to donate and help me get more funds for my book holder and the panel, that would be great, and you can do so via the blog. And take care, and watch out for tanks like that.